Sasha, welcome to Halloween Daily. Thank you so much for hanging out and talking to us today.
Hey there. Hey there. Nice to meet you.
It is great to meet you and to connect. And you should know that I'm a big fan. I'm an old school metalhead to begin with, and Halloween
hmm
especially. I'm always been blasting the music and especially some of the newer stuff around the house. Even my wife loves it. We love it. So big fans, and I do appreciate you hanging out with us. And as you can see, we're Halloween daily. So every day is Halloween for us, which is something I think you guys can definitely relate to on a certain level for sure. Um, Before we get to the music and the new music, if it's all right, I'd like to start there and talk just a little bit about the Halloween holiday itself. And
Okay. Mhm.
what is your earliest memory and thought of the Halloween holiday? And did you celebrate where you grew up?
Oh, actually, it's not a German thing here. We don't have that in Germany. We have it now. Like I see here younger kids coming by and doing the trick or treat thing, but traditionally it's not a German thing. We don't have that. So when I grew up, I didn't even know about it other than from Hollywood movies.
Well, and I was curious about that because I figured that was probably the case, and I was going to ask that about how much of just your knowledge and exposure to the holiday came probably from movies like
Yeah.
Halloween or like Halloween 3 with the Silver Shamrock jingle that has become so synonymous with Halloween now. So that makes
Yeah.
perfect sense. So were you a fan of those movies?
I wouldn't say fan, but of course, when we've been kids, we were watching that. You could see that there's this celebration factor in that, and it's also like it's something for adults and kids to have fun with. So of course we would follow that, but since it's not implemented in our culture, I didn't have, of course, that strong connection to the whole thing. Yeah. So the only way I was more confronted with pumpkins is with my band, like having the logo and everything, yeah, and like little pumpkin man and jumping around and stuff and cartoons that we do sometimes.
Yeah, and of course now, yeah, I mean it's very much a part of the band and your life in that way. So would you say that now it has a bigger place in your life just in general? I would imagine that the holiday has taken on a slightly different meaning now.
I think it's more for the younger kids. So I mean,
Hmm.
as I said, like here now in Germany, we celebrate that. So I don't, but I don't have kids. But I see that kids are celebrating it now. So of course, everybody wants to get dressed up and having fun with that. So, but of course, since it's not implemented in our culture, I can't relate to that as much as you do, for sure. So, but for me, it's fun that we have those comics in the band, and we always like we have some graphic designer who's an illustrator who's painting little pumpkin man, and recently I was creating this little social media cartoon. We call him Pumpkin Show. So it's my creation. So I created this little pumpkin guy who's stumbling through life with daily stuff coming up. And so I'm creating this little story, and our illustrator he's painting it. It's amazing. So in that term, it's fun for me to work with a subject, you know. And other than that, yeah, it's part of our logo for sure. But like um, emotionally, I'm not so much connected to it because it wasn't part of our culture.
Hmm.
So
And like you said, you were aware of the movies and all, like with Halloween 3 and like how the fans chant the happy Halloween from that. Are you guys, would you say, fans of that film now, or you or any of the other guys in the band?
I would say fan would too much of a word for it. So, of course. And I don't even know exactly why they came up with this back then. I think it was a big thing in the 80s, like the
Hmm.
80s Halloween movies and I think when they came up with the name. And then also we have this quirkiness all the time, the humor is a big part. Don't take everything too serious. And so I think even writing Halloween with E instead of an A and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's part of our humorous way of doing the stuff we're doing. And I think it was a great asset to use to stick out in the 80s, from all these like glam bands
Yeah.
and all these super serious metal bands.
Yeah.
So my band kind of sticks out in that term because there's also a little bit of a quirkiness and humor in there. And I think the whole Halloween subject gives you a lot of assets to do that, Like I said with the comics, for instance. So I wasn't a founder of the band, but of course I kind of adopted that, and I'm always thinking of what could you do with that asset, And then so creating like a little figure that's called Pumpkin Joe, is um that's fun to do that, But like I
Yeah.
said, it's not that I'm like just super huge fan of the Halloween fest and stuff, even though we're creating our tours and live shows around it.
Sure.
Mhm.
Awesome. And I
You
love
see,
that.
the only pumpkin that I have here, you can see on this little
I
Black
see.
Star practicing amp.
I love it.
So I can't compete with you.
I don't know. I don't have the stage set up like you guys had at the live shows though. That's I
Yeah,
can't
you
compete with
you
that.
yeah, you bring that on the next time. You can sit there in front of your camera with like big pumpkins and
Yes. Yes, definitely. Definitely. We'll
yeah.
do it.
But it's
Um
nice to see that, we have people like
yeah.
I remember last time we played in Canada, we had a guy coming up like he was dressed up like a pumpkin man. He had like this big pumpkin head, and sometimes we have that, especially in North America, we
Hmm.
we have people coming up dressed up as pumpkins, and the rest of the world it's more Dr. Steens.
Yeah, yeah, I bet. Yeah. Very cool. Now, as you mentioned, I mean, you joined the band, and they had been, well established by that point. Going back to early memories, though, do you recall the very first time you heard Halloween just as a listener, as a fan, and what your impression was at that very first listen?
Um, I heard of them from school, like
Hmm.
some people in my class they were listening to that, and we had like these youth magazines, and when the band came out with I think Keeper of Seven Keys Part One, that had a huge impact on a lot of people. And so I saw suddenly you could see band shirts, and then you in the youth magazines you would have like lyrics of Dr. Steen, and they would have like some kind of cassette tape that you could buy with the magazine or something, and there were kind of a mixtape where they put bands on and stuff like that. So that's the first time I recall that I heard of the band.
And did you follow them throughout their career before joining? And was it like a big moment for you when you joined the band? Were you a fan, I guess, from that point on?
So for me, of course it was a big moment because my life suddenly just turned around. So it was like really like I was like from today's perspective, I was really young when I joined the band. I was 25 years old, so of course it had a huge impact on me. Musical wise, I didn't follow them too much. I of course was crossing paths with
Okay.
the music, of course, for sure. And but when I was a kid, I was in totally different types of music. Even when I started out playing guitar, I yeah, I was always more on the rock side. And then I discovered metal, but I was not like the super diehard metal fan. Just to put it into context, um,
Hmm.
Metallica was a band that was too hard for me. I
Hmm.
found it like when I was in my youth, I found it kind of too harsh. Like everything that was trash was already too had too much energy for me, for my taste. Um, so I like the hair bands and and Doc and Scorpions and stuff like that. So I like that part and so Halloween was kind of in between back
Hmm.
then. And of course I knew the band and of course I knew a song like Dr. Steen, which was played basically on the radio in Germany.
Hmm.
So I would stumble over that, but I wasn't like super much into it. But later on, then when I recorded the first couple of albums with Charlie Bauerfeind for another band, I was confronted more and more with the band, because
Yeah.
Halloween is basically the leader of that genre, power metal.
Yeah.
So I was always kind of stumbling, and then I met the guys here and there. I met Roland Grappo, who was before me in the band. I met him
Hmm.
before at some festival where I was playing with my band.
Hmm.
And then I met Vicky once briefly in Hamburg in some restaurant,
Hmm.
before. So we would cross paths sometimes. My band would rehearse in Kai Hansen's studio. We would rehearse there. Charlie Bauerfeind was producing our records, so I kind of get to know the band here and there, from time to time. So when the call came, it had a huge impact. So for sure.
It must have been. And then to come in and you've got this catalog of songs. I mean, I guess you probably already, like you said, you were familiar with some of them, like Dr. Stein, and but there were other ones. I mean, you've got to learn those backwards and forwards right off the bat, I imagine, so you can start hitting the road. And then at the same time, you're working on new music, and you've contributed so much since then. But were you nervous at first to start bringing your material to these guys when in around like that first album that you worked on with them?
Oh, um, the whole time when I joined the band was like I was at the same time, like I said, I was pretty young. I was also too naive to understand what's going on. It was like everything was it was like a rush.
Yeah.
It was like a crazy trip, because um you must imagine you get this call from the producer who's saying like Halloween is searching for a guitar player, and I was thinking you could fit into the band. And by that time, I didn't even think I would play that type of music anymore, because I left my band before, which is called Freedom Call, which was the same type of power metal music. And I was like kind of done with it. I was kind of like I wanted to move into a new direction, and
Hmm.
which didn't form by that time. And then the call came, so out of the blue. So that's one part, and then the other part is I got to meet Vikey at first, and we liked each other instantly, and then it was like, yeah, we have to make another album, and there wasn't even a tour planned by that time. It was more we have to make an album,
Hmm.
and if you have songs, just bringing on and so that was kind of, and then also I heard a couple of Andy songs, which was very inspiring for me to
Hmm.
see the skill level of songwriting they already had, like Andy and Mikey, they were brilliant songwriters, and so for me as a young kid, it was like super impressive and challenging, and I wanted to take the challenge, and I didn't have time to think about what's gonna happen. Am I gonna be famous or something like that? I didn't think of that. It was like more, okay, do I like them? Because I started early on. I recorded my first albums when I was 16 years old. I was this kind of wunderkind guitar player in my town. So everything started early with me, and I always played with older musicians. I was always the youngest kid in bands. And when I joined Halloween, I didn't even know that I would join. It was more or less, they didn't even ask me to join the band. This was like, yeah, we need a guitar player and we want to record another album, and let's just do an album together and then we see. It was more that. So I didn't think about it. I didn't think about fame. I didn't think about touring. I didn't think of
Hmm.
anything. Just I wanted to enter the studio with them and make a great record. That was the first task, and I was also too naive to understand what it means, and in on the long run, So because you must know, then we finished the album, and suddenly there was a photo shooting and a video shoot coming up, and they wanted me to be in there, but they still didn't ask me, "Do you want to join the band?" It was like,
Right.
okay, I guess I'm in the band now, so something like that.
Right.
So it came up really, really weird. And then suddenly I would fly to Japan with Mikey, would do some promo tour. That was like, for me, it was like mind blowing, to experience all that suddenly, and then we rehearsed for the tour. And then, like you said, then I had to learn like older songs, of course, and all the stuff, which came naturally because we rehearsed a lot by the time, and it was a lot of fun to do that, but I even didn't have a glimpse of what's gonna happen next. And suddenly you would stand in Brazil the first time with the band on stage, and you realize, oh, damn, that's pretty huge, So I just didn't think about it. I just wanted to have a couple of nice guys making music with me together by that time, So, and then it had to develop. I kind of
Mm.
had to get my brain into it more and more over the years, But I like that they appreciated my contributions, with songwriting and everything from the beginning, and they respected me very much, which is not naturally when you're at such a young age and having like older band members. So it wasn't like I had to prove myself. They just trusted Charlie Bauerfeind, our producer. Hey, if he says it's a cool guy and he can write and he can play the guitar, and he's a nice dude, and then yeah, that's it, So they kind of just yeah adopted me right away.
Well, and I love that. And now moving forward into this current era of the Pumpkins United era that started with the song Pumpkins United, and then of course the self-titled album a few years ago, and now we've got the new one coming out, Giants and Monsters. Um, I was talking to my wife the other night, and I was saying how awesome it is that all of you contribute in the songwriting department, and she said, and there's seven of them. That must be hard to work out. And I like, well, that's why it's unique and cool. I think, from my perspective, um, how has that evolved from the first Pumpkins United song into the full length, and then now with this most recent album? Like, how has that relationship and that writing process
Mhm.
of all seven of you guys together evolved?
That's a very good question. Yeah. Um, when before Kai and Michael came back into the band,
Mm-hmm.
we were a very long time stable lineup, and everything was like and a lot of everything was in harmony, like we clicked with each other because we've been on many tours together. We did many albums together, and so of course if two more members come into the band, you have to make some space, that's for sure. And I always keep saying, like, the Pumpkins United song, that was like, from my perspective, it was my gift to Kai to just do what he does, because we could have all like, yeah, but I want to bring in ideas and stuff as well. So it was more like, okay, let's bring it on. He came back, and Andy had ideas and Mikey had ideas, and it was like, okay, let's just step back, let them do their thing, at first. So that was the Pumpkin United song. And then when we went on tour together, and then when you go on tour, you you're figuring each other out. There's a different vibe. Then suddenly it's like a new band, It's like
Mm-hmm.
you have to reform again, and
Yeah.
and that happened. And then while we've been on the tour, we've been talking about the album, and then it started that everybody was back into contributing songs, and yeah, it's not a big hassle because um everything was building up on each other, like,
Yeah.
so Michael Kiske and Andy got along very well on tour, so they clicked with each other. Then Kai was able to finish the Pumpkins United song together with Andy and Vicky. So Marcus and I, we stepped back, and we were like, okay, let's do your thing. Then we went on tour. Then we did the next album where we all brought songs in, and what I really like about my band is that this brings a lot of flavors to the table. You know, it's like it's not the ego trips of the members. It's more an asset we have as a band. You know, like in most bands you have like one or two songwriters,
Yeah.
and the rest of the guys are just there playing the songs.
Hmm.
But with us, it's like a lot of creative minds and strong characters as well. You know, so um, if you if you're able to channel that into the right direction, that's a huge asset, I think. So and that makes our album, like you said, it makes our albums interesting. You know.
Oh, absolutely. And it's one of my favorite aspects. And I mean, um, just listening to the seven of you guys together and hearing how you describe that creative process a little bit. Um, Moving into the new album coming out in August, you're credited with two songs on this, and they supplied us with an early preview of the album. I've been listening to it pretty much on repeat all week, and I love it. I love the whole thing, and your tracks especially, I was just really blown away with. And I'd love to get a little bit of insight on each of them if we can. And I guess we'll start with
Thanks,
Universe.
man.
This is like I feel like a classic Halloween epic track, like one of these like takes you on this epic journey. It almost feels like a movie when you listen to it, which is, I love when you guys do that. And can you tell us a little bit about coming up with that one and your thought process on developing Universe?
I think you did a great summary here because and it's nice for me to hear that because like you really reflecting the vibe that I had when I was creating the song, you know. It's like a journey, and that's what I wanted to do there. And yeah, and I keep saying it's I gave birth to the song because it was a lot of work to connect all the parts all together, you know.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it was just inspiration hitting me, you know. It was
Mhm.
like, so what I typically would do, or how a song like this develops, is I would play an instrument. Most typically, I would play guitar or synthesizer, you know, creating this. I'm a sound design nerd, so I design guitar sounds and synthesizer sounds. And this time, it was like a clean guitar sound that I liked, you know, and it has had this like dystopian feeling.
Yeah.
And so what dystopia sometimes does to you, it takes you out of this world, you know. For me, it was like, okay, instantly I had this like inspiration, and I had this one word coming in. So what I typically do, I play an instrument and I sing at the same time.
Mhm.
Most of the time it's just phonetic bullshit. It's just like something that sounds great but doesn't make sense, you know.
Yeah.
and and sometimes there comes a hook with it, and this time it was the universe hook. It was like I was playing the clean guitar parts and I was singing, and then I I started singing with that universe. I thought this word is so strong, and I was imagining instantly Michael Kiske singing it, and I had goosebumps, and I was like, okay, I need to continue. So, and then because of the subject and the dystopian feel the intro had, I was like, okay, how can I take it to the next level, and how can I connect it to lyrics that make sense, you know?
Mhm.
And so everything just was flowing. Like for a couple of days, I was like I couldn't wait to wake up in the morning, you know. I wanted to go up and continue to do it, you know. Um, so yeah, and that's how it came together. So like it was growing and growing and growing, each part, and and then every time I finished another part, I was like, yeah, but now I also wanted to have something traditional, you know, all these like super quick changing solo parts and
Mhm.
stuff. I wanted to have that in there to kind of um having, yeah, the cherry on the cake, you know. So stuff like that just came up and building up more and more, you know. And lyrical wise, it's a beautiful theme. I think is it's like everything is connected, and every choice you do
Yes.
has a it's reflecting on something else, you know. So I thought it's a very nice subject, and that all together with like the dystopian clean guitars, but with the powerful riffs at the same time, and then Michael's brilliant singing on there. Um, I think that it perfectly works, and I'm happy that the song came out the way it came out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's one of my favorites. And I was going to ask you about that. If when you're writing, if you hear one of them particularly singing it, and in this case, you did on this one. How about the other one, Hand of God? Tell us a little bit about that one. Now that one I love, and it's a very different than the other one, and I'd say maybe a little, not quite a departure, but a different vibe than a lot of the rest of the album, and I really like it. Again, I've been jamming that one a ton. Um, what can you tell us about that one?
You know that's the thing with different vibes
Yeah.
and different colors we bring to the table because of our influences in songwriting and that makes an album from my perspective it makes the album very interesting to have all that, you know, like different grooves. I mean, with that song particularly, it has to do something with a groove. It's like a very driving groove, and it almost has a like a sequence of feel from the drum parts, you know. Funny side story about that. I didn't know that they recorded it that way, but Danny just told me recently that there's like a shaking sound in there that's going like a sequencer through the drum track. And he told me he was doing this with his hands on the snare drum, like he was like stroking the snare drum to make like these which goes through the whole song, you know. So those kind of things happen with when you have a song that leaves space for creativity, you know. And I must say the whole album came together like this, everybody being really creative and creating sounds and ideas and parts. And so yeah, and a song like this gives you that freedom, you know. Like of course if you have like this typical power metal double bass song, everybody's kind of expecting that from us, but having a song like this that's more on the groovier side and leaving space for other ideas, or even we have a great ballad on this album, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like something like that. That's also you said a beautiful word before. You said journey,
Yeah.
and that's what I think an album must be. You know, if you listen through an album, and people nowadays don't do that so much anymore, but luckily in our scene people do that,
Yes.
and we want to give them exactly that. We want to give them the possibility to experience something that comes close to a musical journey. Yes.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite things about this band. And yeah, when I've been listening to the album, I love to, even before I looked at the lyrics or anything, I would just listen to it and in its entirety. Each track in order. I've heard Tokyo a million times since it was released, but I wanted to listen to it in sequence with the album, get the whole journey. Yeah, so I love that whole aspect about it, and it's awesome. Um, Before we let you go, what is your favorite song to play live right now? In as of
Well,
2025, I mean, there's so many classics, and you guys are just on fire with these tours, selling out everywhere. If can you pick one? Is it possible to pick a favorite one to do live?
you know, there's one song I could. I mean, I have it, in basically I have a problem with favorites because that can always change. You know,
Sure.
like people keep asking me a lot, "What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite song? What's your favorite band?" You know,
And you'll
it's
change
really
your
hard
mind
to.
tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, it might happen, and also it depends on the mood. You know,
Oh
like
yeah.
okay, the one day you like this band more than the other band, or this album
Sure.
more than the other album, or that movie more than the other ones. Sometimes it's Sunday afternoon and you want to watch some funny comedy movie. You know, it's like it depends on it depends on your mood, and so that's why I have a problem with favorites because it's always changing, and yeah, it's not helping you now because I could pick a song, but then I would kind of release something that's on our set list that nobody needs to know yet. But by that time, you know. So,
Right.
but there are a couple of songs I really love to play. We had like the first a block of rehearsals for the upcoming tour,
Yeah.
and it went great. And we did a couple of new songs that we never played in this lineup before, you know.
Okay.
And that's a lot of fun to play, you know. And I must say now with like three guitar players, a lot of songs just make more sense, you know.
Yeah.
It's like um you can layer guitars on each other, you know, so you can stack them when sometimes even two guitars are not enough, you know. So it's not now it's fun that we can kind of figure out who's playing what to make it fit all together, and especially with older songs when you had like in the studio you had many layers. Now we can kind of reproduce that even more, you know, and that's actually right now fun to do that. And then of course we have classic. They're always fun to play. I mean, um, there's especially our long songs, you know.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun to do that.
Awesome. And I know the fans love hearing every era as I do. And another one of our personal favorites, my wife and I both, we love Best Time. Is this, in your opinion, the best time to be a fan of Helloween? I mean, there's been a lot of incarnations of the band, a lot of eras, but I mean, this kind of feels like a special moment for this band. Do you think this is the best time for Helloween?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I would think that someone who discovered the band in his youth, let's say it's 87 and you discovered the band, of course you can't um give them back the exactly same feeling they had when they were 17 years old or 16 years old or even younger, like kissing the first boy or girl, you know, like you can't give them back that when we come to tour, you know. So I think emotionally it's pretty tough to say if it's like the best time for them, but of course it's a really good time to see our live shows because now we're bigger than we've ever been, and we can deliver a much greater live show experience now. And then with a back catalog of ours, you know, like with so many albums and 40 years of history, there's a lot of more that we can do, and a lot of more fans from different generations come and join the shows. And that's what I think is why, from my perspective, it would be the best time, because sometimes we have um, the grandfather with his son and this kid, and we have three generations in our crowd, and from my perspective, that's totally the best time, you know, to have this kind of family event already and showing the same music,
Yeah.
and I think it's magical.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great word too, magical. Yeah, I mean, when you can share something like that, music like this with, like you said, with generations, yeah, that's awesome. You know, like Halloween, we share all that with
Yeah,
our generations and pass it on and those traditions and all.
yeah,
So
yeah. And
so
I
again,
and I can see you're celebrating that a lot. I guess I can imagine your house from the outside looks hilarious during
yes,
those days, right?
yes. I'll send you some photos on Instagram or something.
Oh
But
yeah,
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 it's we go all out, of course, and some of
yeah.
it's
I can
out now.
imagine.
Like we've got
I
pumpkins
can.
in the front yard now, even in July. So yeah,
Oh yeah,
we
yeah.
yeah, it never ends for us, literally.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Well, this has been amazing. I love the album, and this has been great talking to you today and getting all this insight. I know our audience is really going to appreciate it. And instead of saying goodbye, like I said, every day is Halloween, so I'm just going to wish you a very happy Halloween.
Oh, thank you, man, and thanks for your nice questions. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the pictures.